Hey guys, what's up? It's Deanna. So tonight I wanted to show you another antique German doll in my collection. And this one's really, really pretty. Now, she's actually an unusual doll for, I've never had one of these in my collection in all 20 years of collecting antique dolls. And so I found her about 6 months ago on eBay. And she, what do you call it? Actually was what I thought was a mystery doll. And if you collect antique dolls, you come across these mystery dolls once in a while. So she has her original, actually human hair wig. A lot of these dolls come with mohair wigs as well. And she's got brown paperweight eyes, so her eyes do not sleep. And paperweight eyes are steady eyes that actually look like they're coming out of the socket. Let me just shine my lamp in here. See how they're like a little bulbous? A lot of like French fashion dolls used to have eyes like this. But these are really, really pretty. Now, let me just place my lamp down a moment so I could show you more. Now, she's got these really, really pretty feathered eyebrows, and generally, like a poorer doll maker, like a poorer company. When I say poorer, like a company that paints them like really without that much precision, like Armand Marseille generally would have did one stroke eyebrows. But this particular painter from this German doll maker did a really good job of making these eyebrows look very expressive. She has an open mouth with teeth and a little punched in chin dimple. And so she has like a familiar face, and I couldn't figure it out. And then it, like the little light bulb, don't jumped out at me and went ding in my head. And so I have a few dolls by the name of Fleischman and Bloedel, and they were known as French dolls. But Fleischman and Bloedel was actually a German. They were German doll makers that I think Fleischman moved to Paris, and he opened up offices there, and then joined SFBJ, which was a syndicate of a group of different doll makers by the names of Jumeau. So we had Jumeau, we had Gautier, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. We had all sorts of Steiner, all like the major doll makers of the day could no longer keep up with the German output and price. So Germans were like the China of Europe at that time with toy making. Like, you know how like today, like we have all the cheap Chinese goods. Well, Germany was China. And so if you wanted something that was made well, mass produced and cheap, you would get actually a German product. So that, like I said, it was China. And the French though made luxury products. So a lot of people started just buying German dolls because a lot of them were actually made really well. And instead of paying the huge price that the French doll makers were charging, the Germans were actually beating out the French. And then the French started to really see a decline in sales. And a lot of companies folded, a lot of factories closed down, and the Germans were putting the French out of business. So Fleischmann and Bloedel and many other doll makers all got together in France and consolidated and put all their factory products into one just to save money and to be able to put an output out there as much as the Germans and lower their price just to stay alive. So now Fleischmann, actually, again, I was telling you, he was a German who actually moved to Paris, and he was selling a lot of his dolls as French and stamping them like Paris on the back, or he named some of his dolls the Eden Baby. That was one of his dolls. And again, it would have like a French stamp on it, but he got a lot of the heads by a German company by the name of Recknagel. And so this one looks a lot like the late 1890s, like 1898 to about 1900 Eden babies that I've seen. And so I'm going to actually show you the rest of this doll, and then I'll show you the mark. So she comes with a beautiful dress. I don't know if it's antique, but it's made out of cotton. It's a really, really nice fabric. It could be her original dress. Now, I do know, though, her undergarments are definitely original. I've been collecting dolls for long enough to know, whether they are reproductions or the real deal. These are definitely antique. You can see the antique lace. It's just stunning. It's so beautiful when you get these dolls and they have their original accessories and clothing. Again, she's got these original pantaloons made out of cotton. And her stockings are original as well, and her shoes are fantastic. They're beautiful. They're very well made. They're made out of leather, and they have little silver colored buckles. And let me turn her around so you can see the detail. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So these are really, really gorgeous, gorgeous old shoes, and they're in perfect condition. It looks like nobody really played with this doll. The body's very clean, and it's a jointed composition body. So her arms and her hands and her legs and her head swivels, and she can be placed in all different positions. Now, let me take off her wig and show you what I mean by mystery doll. Again, I believe she to be a Fleischman Bloedel doll, but he got a lot of his heads from a factory in Germany by the name of Recknagel. Now, their symbol on a lot of their dolls was an R, and this doll is marked R5, and then you see DEP. So when you see DEP, a lot of dolls that were French were marked DEP, but Germans put DEP on the backs of the dolls' heads too. Like, for example, Simon and Halbig, another German doll maker, who was making fantastic quality dolls, like much like Kessner as well, would put DEP on the backs of the dolls' heads. Now, Simon Halbig was known to make dolls for the French market. So again, in the late 19th century, early 20th century, Simon and Halbig made a lot of the heads for SFBJ. They would sell the heads over there, and then they would put the dolls together in France in the SFBJ factory. And DEP is actually it's saying like the doll is patented, like the design is a patented design. I think it's pronounced déponière in French. Don't laugh at me if I said it wrong. I never pronounce French words right. But again, so the fact that it has the DEP and the R is actually making me think it's a Recknagel head made for Fleischman and Bloedel in France. But I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on dolls. If you know, write it in the comments below who made her. I'd really like to know. She really is a beautiful, beautiful doll. At first, I thought she was probably maybe a Baron Prothschild doll, or maybe one of the early Simon and Halbig dolls, like their 739 type of model. I have two of those in my collection, and the face is like that similar look. But yeah, so she's really, really a mystery. She was probably made for the French market. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all soon. And if you know anything more about this doll, help me out in the comments below. I greatly appreciate your input. So long.